Hello everyone and welcome to the table. So today I have a new knife and this one I picked up as a Black Friday special. This one is coming to us from Caviso. And so if you're not familiar with Caviso, they are actually the same company. If you remember Mass Drop and or Drop, they are essentially the same company, just a different sub-brand. And so Caviso produces knives and this one right here is the Keen Mini. And so we can see the labeling on the box right here. So the Caviso Keen Mini, liner lock, green aluminum, and we can see we have a 14C 28N blade. So this knife right here is a Ray LACONICO design. And so Mass Drop some time ago, they produced a full-size Keen, which is right here on the table. So I'll just kind of put this one up for comparison's sake. And you can see side by side, of course, we know why this is called the Keen Mini, because it's taking that same really nice design and it shrunk it down into a more pocketable version. So there are some significant differences, which we'll check out in just a minute. But let's go ahead and just actually look at this knife. So we can see we have some aluminum handles here, and this is the green coloration, so very shiny. They also have this in blue and black, so there are some options. So we have a pocket clip right here. It is not of the deep carry variety, but it is a sculpted pocket clip. So that looks nice and it goes in and out of pocket, really with no issue there. We have a lanyard hole there on the back as well. So you can put a lanyard on the knife if you so choose to. And as you can tell, we are a flipper. So flipper design, and the blade shape is just this very nice spear point, and it's a full flat ground, 14C 28N blade. Of course, this one is a liner lock, like we saw on the box. So you can see the lock up on the liner right there, which is perfectly normal and acceptable. So no issues with that. And this knife does run on bearings, and we'll talk about the action in just a minute. But one of the things I love about Ray LACONICO's knife designs is on the spine, we see the name there. That's kind of like one of his trademark things, to see the name on the spine of the knife. So it's pretty cool. And Ray's designs are just like they're subdued kind of, it's one of those style things. You really like it or not. And I'm a pretty big fan myself. And so straight out of the box, I will say there were some issues with this knife. So I'm not here just to sing its praises. There are some issues, and I can see why they discounted this knife for Black Friday, because normally this knife costs $60, $59.99. And at that price level, there's a lot of competition that does beat the quality level of this knife. But they had a $30 deal for Black Friday. So for 30 bucks, I think this knife is an absolute must buy. It's a good deal at that price. But straight out of the box, again, some small issues. Main one being that the action was fairly gritty. And I'll be honest with you, because you can see it's on bearings, but it's not like a drop shut action by any means. You can swing it closed, and it works. But as the blade travels, like this, there you can feel a grittiness. And so what I had to do is I did take the knife apart, just cleaned it out, and it really wasn't all that dirty, but just the action of taking the knife apart, lubing it up, putting it back together, it improved the action significantly. And so that was kind of nice. And so, of course, you can always loosen the pivot. If you do loosen the pivot, though, you do lose some of that centering. So right now it's slightly off center because I did loosen the pivot a little bit, but that does improve the action. Because without loosening the pivot, sometimes when you just flip it, like the blade does not engage fully. And that's not usually something that happens with a knife that runs on bearings. So there is that. But that being said, of course, taking the knife apart was actually quite a treat. The good thing about this design is they thought about it. So not only is the pivot a D-shaped pivot, but these two pillars down here that are hidden behind the backspacer also have D-shaped standoffs. And what do I mean by D-shaped standoffs? So if you have never disassembled a knife before, one of the banes of your existence are going to find that cheap knives, you put the screw in here to turn it and it just spins. And the reason why it spins is because, of course, it's a round pivot. So instead of disengaging with the threading, it just wants to spin. That can be the end of your day. But what they do is they make the pivot, the little pin, a D shape so that when it spins, it's captured in the frame. Therefore, the disassembly of this knife is very easy. So I do appreciate their thought. D-shaped pivot, not only for the pivot itself, but for these two standoffs on the back. So it made disassembly quite easy. So I really appreciate that. And that is honestly not something I have ever seen on a pocket knife before. And I own a lot of knives. So having those D-shaped hardware really does make disassembly much simpler. So that's a good thing. But of course, that being said, should I have really had to take apart a new knife? Let's look at the specs and the size, especially in comparison to the original Keen that we have on the table. So overall length of this knife, let's go ahead and pull out the ruler and check that out. So we are looking at an overall length of about 6 7/8 inches long. And our blade length is coming in, looks like right under 3 inches, so like 2.8, 2.9 inches. So sub 3-inch blade, if that matters for your locality. And the knife is not a super heavyweight, so let's go ahead and put the scale out. All right, so we're weighing in at 2.8 ounces, so 2.88, so pretty respectable. Comparing that to the original, now this is a titanium frame lock. Naturally, it's a bigger knife, so it's going to weigh more. And our original Keen is coming in, 4.2 ounces, so still not super heavyweight, but it is larger, as you can obviously tell. And our original Keen does have a larger blade. This is a 3.5-inch blade. So let me get my ruler out for that one. 3.5-inch blade, overall length 8 inches in length. So yeah, it's more of a full-size everyday carry. Very high quality. And this one was more of a premium price. I forget how much it cost, but it was more than $100. But I will say this mini Keen was produced by QSP. And QSP, as the OEM of this unit, they make great knives. So don't get me wrong. QSP, they're one of the greats in the industry. They do a lot of OEM work for a lot of different brands. So the fact that there were some issues with this knife was actually quite surprising for me. And so even if you look at the reviews on the Caviso website, some of the early reviews do mention the action being, gritty right out of the box. And so it's not an isolated concern. So definitely not surprised they discounted this one. So do I recommend this knife at $60? No, I do not. If you're going to spend $60 on a knife, I guarantee if you go buy something from Civivi, you're going to be a lot happier. Now, if you love Ray LACONICO's designs, by all means get it, for sure. I think you'll enjoy it. But in terms of pure quality control, Civivi knocks them out of the water. In comparison, a flipper on bearings like this action on Civivi is glass smooth right out of the box. Never an issue. Whereas on the Keen Mini here, I know you can't hear that really on camera, but there is a grindy grittiness to it. And this is after disassembly, after cleaning, after lubing. It's about 100% better than it was. And action-wise, Civivi is going to beat it any day of the week. So this right here is a Civivi Elementum, if you're wondering. But again, $30, heck yes, go buy it. As of right now, Black Friday is obviously quite over, so that deal is gone. But if you are able to pick it up for that lower discounted price, I would think it's a pretty good pickup for $30. You can do a lot worse. Definitely great blade steel for that price, 14C28N. The actual design itself is gorgeous to look at. So it always has that going for it. So definitely wanted to share my thoughts on the Keen Mini. Again, they're not always good videos I'm making, but I didn't complain too much. It's a really nice design. I think just some of the quality control might be hit or miss on this model. So these are just my thoughts. Tell me what you think of the Keen full size and mini in the comments below. I hope to hear from all of you soon, and please have a nice day. See you later.